All right, we're back. I told you before the break here that we were going to do a segment here called the New Democratic Republic of America. And I want you to insert a K at the end of Democratic, a K at the end of Republic, and a K into America. And I say that because 12 hours ago, the United States of America fell to a financial coup, a coup d'etat. And we see every aspect of what we believed to be the United States of America and a country that was based upon the concepts of freedom, liberty, benefiting from the labor and the fruits of your hard work, your ability to choose your own pursuit of happiness, whatever that may be. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to be able to redress our grievances with our government. And over the course of the past 2 weeks, we have seen this shredded directly in front of our faces, blocked and prohibited from accessing parks and recreational facilities that we own, that we paid for, that we own as a nation. The institution of Obamacare, which has turned into, for all intents and purposes, the dossier construction zone for every single American. Now, I've warned you about this in earlier shows, but I'm going to go at it again. In the source code for the Obama website is a warning, and here's what it says. It's in their terms and conditions page. You have no reasonable expectation of privacy regarding any communication or data transiting or stored on this information system. Now, this is a disclaimer that's inside the source code, but it's not visible on the terms and conditions page. This disclaimer goes on to say this: at any time and for any lawful government purpose, the government may monitor, intercept, and search and seize any communication or data transiting or stored on this information system. Let me help you understand what this means. One, it's buried in the source code. For those of you that are not web or code literate, let me tell you what source code is. Source code, when you're developing a website, is the actual instructions for what your internet browser, whether you use Internet Explorer or Internet Exploder as I call it, Firefox or Chrome or Google Chrome or whatever that browser is that you use, what source code does is it tells that browser how to show you a visual representation of the website. So it's the one, in the source code is what tells the browser to have a blue background or a red background or a green background. It tells the color, it tells the browser what color to make the print. It tells the browser where to put this image in this picture. It tells the browser whether that picture is one that you can click on and get to a bigger picture or maybe be transferred to another site. It's the instructions that tell your browser how to render the image so that you can intelligently understand it. I think that's a pretty fair explanation of source code. Source code in software is what tells the program what to do. When you click your mouse here, you've got to enter your name, or you've got to enter your, the amount of money that you're putting into your Excel spreadsheet, or whatever the case may be. To hide this warning inside that source code, but not show it on the public visible terms and conditions page, ladies and gentlemen, that's entrapment. And it goes beyond that. It states that the government doesn't want you to know. In other words, look, if if you got a bottle of medicine, but in order to see the warning that you could potentially overdose and kill yourself on these pills, you had to get to the bottom of the pill bottle because the warning was printed on the bottom of the pill bottle on the inside. You'd say, well, wait a minute. By the time I get to the bottle, it's too late. Aha. The light goes on. If inside that, if the warning on a package of cigarettes that says, warning, cigarettes cause cancer and can kill you, was inside the box on the very bottom where you had to literally take the foil package of cigarettes out of it in order to read the warning, you would say, well, why would you hide it there? I guess you really don't want anyone to see that, do you? And what the government has done is buried this warning in code that you will never see, but they can say, well, the warning was there. I'm going to read it to you again because I want you to understand what is being done here. You have no reasonable expectation of privacy regarding any communication or data transiting or stored on this information system. At any time and for any lawful government purpose, the government may monitor, intercept, and search, and seize any communication or data transiting or stored on this information system. Security experts are actually coming out and saying that they're worried because the paragraph is beneath the surface and not visible. And it represents an ominous sign that the U.S. government is ill-equipped to handle what? Identity thieves. Now, I don't think it's so much for identity thieves as it is to lull the American populace into believing that, one, this information isn't being used for another nefarious government-sponsored purpose. I grant you, they also want to have a get-out-of-jail-free card, a CYA card, for when your data is stolen and someone says, I'm now Betty Boop, and this is my name, my address, my telephone number, my date of birth, my age, my social security number. Oh, and by the way, here's all of my healthcare bills and documents and records to prove who I am. Oh, and here's my IRS records to prove that I am who I say I am. And commits identity fraud. They want to get out of jail free card when that happens. And mark my words, it will happen. But more important than that is that when an American later on goes to sue the federal government to say, you use this information, as I gave to you in a show previous, where Kentucky said that this information was being used for law enforcement and audit purposes, when you go to say to claim as a defense, but the government never told me that they were going to use this for law enforcement and auditing purposes. And so therefore, I have a provable defense, a reasonable expectation of privacy. And they're going to pull this ace out of the hole, and they're going to say, aha, no, you don't. Because it said right on the website, you have no reasonable expectation of privacy regarding any communication or data transiting or stored on this information system at any time and for any lawful government purpose. The government may monitor, intercept, and search and seize any communication or data transiting or stored on this information system. And it also does say in the open terms and conditions that you can read that information can be used for auditing and law enforcement purposes. The real goal of this is to not let you know what your information is being used for, and to cover them from incidental data theft that can be used to destroy you. How can it be used to destroy you, you ask? Well, let me put it to you this way. When your credit cards are stolen and your wallet is lost, or someone goes out there and uses identity theft and portrays themselves as you and applies for credit in your name, when you find out about it, what happens? You go to your bank, you get all your credit cards shut off, they reissue you new credit cards, you go to the bank and you say, I did not sign up for this loan, and the bank is responsible at that point for letting you off the hook, essentially, for that $5,000 loan they gave to somebody who claimed they were you. Here's the problem. When your identity is stolen in this method, you cannot get a replacement for your life. Will people be applying for health care services in your name? Will someone get a kidney replacement in your name? Will someone obtain medical services that you are responsible to pay for? And at the end of the day, who will eventually finally be responsible for that bill? You know, the sky is the limit with the creativity of criminals. We've seen that. The other day there was a story out about a group of 3 men who were caught on camera going into a Nordstrom store. Now, Nordstrom's a pretty high-end department store. And these 3 guys were going into Nordstrom's, and they went into a bunch of them. It wasn't just, one. It was like 3 or 4 of them. They went into Nordstrom, and there was a cash register on the counter. And so what they did is they got 2 of the guys got clerks to get away from the counter, and they got her sidetracked, showing them, $700 shoes or something, while the other guy popped the back off the cash register and took a quick picture with his cell phone. Then they left. They came back a few hours later, mind you, and again, the 2 guys engaged the clerk, got her away from the cash register, while the 3rd guy popped the back off the register again, the little door on the back, and he inserted a chip. And that chip was basically capturing the data for every credit card swipe that was done on that cash register. My point to this is, you have no idea the level of creativity and the machinations that criminals will go through to accomplish their task. And if you don't think they're looking at this like a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, you're dreaming. Morgan Wright is a security expert, and here's what she had to say about this. This sounds as if they're saying, we're not guaranteeing we can protect anything you give to us at all. You've just told somebody where the gold is, and you've left it unsecured. So it will come as no shock that the gold will be stolen. Interesting. Now, Health and Human Services was asked about this. And, of course, they're trying to dismiss it as a no big deal thing. They're coming out, and they made a statement that says the following. This is the HHS's official response. When consumers fill out their online marketplace applications, they can trust that the information they're providing is protected by stringent security standards and that the technology underlying the application process has been tested and is secure. Stop right there. That is an absolute bald-faced lie. And how do we know that? Well, 1, their own security warning overrides that statement. 2, we also know that the system was never, and I did an entire show on this, so go look back at the history, go type in Obamacare and search for it on my Obamacare security and search for it on my YouTube channel. The system was never tested for security until the day before it went live. And they've never released the results of whether those security tests failed or passed. So, their statement that consumers, when they fill out their online marketplace applications, they can trust that the information they're providing is protected. And I'm going to tell you, here's the other read between the lines, critical thinking skill to be used here. when the customers fill out their online marketplace applications, aha. Now, let's go back to the actual warning itself. Remember, they're talking about when you fill out the application, right? Which is just, your basic personal information. But realize what they're saying in this warning, that you have no reasonable expectation of privacy regarding any, what? Communication or data transiting or stored in this information system. That doesn't include just your application. That includes your entire tax history, because they have to prove that what your income is so that they can determine whether or not you're entitled to a subsidy. That includes all your employment information, because they have to prove whether or not your employer gave you insurance or you're obligated under the individual mandate to buy it. That includes all the kinds of information about your health insurance records themselves and your health record itself. In other words, what diseases have you had? When did you have it? What was the doctor's prognosis? What were the x-rays taken? So they're saying here in their document, in their response, that when consumers fill out their marketplace application, they can trust that the information that they are providing, key operative word here, is protected by stringent security standards. But we're not talking about the stuff that I enter. We're talking about the stuff that you've got a hold of. I didn't give you the IRS information. You went out to the IRS and drew that in through the data hub. I didn't give you my medical records. You went out to the hospital and you drew those in. I didn't give you my medical records. You went out to the doctor and confiscated those and drew those into the system. I didn't give you my immigration status. You went out through that INS system and drew that information in through Department of Homeland Security. I didn't give you my banking information. You went out to my bank and you captured that information and drew it in. How is it that they are sitting here saying that the only thing you should be concerned about is that information which you submit? That information is hardly what's valuable. Frankly, they don't need your application information if they already have everything else about you, from the IRS, the DHS, your hospital, your doctor. Need I go on? I mean, don't all of those records also have all of your name, address, social security number, date of birth, all of the information that they would need to go out and commit identity fraud? I think I can rest my case, counselor. I've been telling you from Jump Street that the purpose of Obamacare is not to provide health care to American citizens and individuals within the United States. The entire basis for the development, the passage, and the implementation of Obamacare is serving two purposes and only two. The first is that it gives them an opportunity to gather information and data on every living, breathing citizen. In fact, in Kentucky, you can apply as a dead person. Did you know that? It actually has a checkbox that says, if you are deceased, check this box. I kid you not. Only government could come up with that. But I digress. The purpose of this is nothing more than the development of a dossier building machine that you are willingly inputting all of your information into. And they are then taking that information, and you have now waived your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. You've waived it because you signed by checking the box on the application that I agree to these terms and conditions. And the terms and conditions that you just agreed to are that the information can be used for law enforcement and auditing purposes, and that they are not responsible to protect your data because you have no expectation of privacy. And so you've waived your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, and you have waived your Fourth Amendment right against unreasonable search and seizure. You can waive those rights, ladies and gentlemen. Why do you think you are read the Miranda reading when you are arrested? Because you have a right to remain silent. And so I posit this argument, which I keep bringing up, and I don't hear anybody else in the national scene talking about it. I don't hear Fox talking about it. I don't hear Communist News Network bringing it up. I don't hear ABC, NBC, CBS, MSLSD. I don't hear Rush Limbaugh. I don't hear Glenn Beck. I don't hear Mark Levin. I don't hear Laura Ingraham. I don't hear anybody talking about this. And that is that you are forced by the passage of the the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. By the passage of that law, you are forced to apply through a system that requires that you give up and waive your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination and search and seizure, illegal and unauthorized search and seizure. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever wanted a constitutional conundrum, there it lies. How can you pass a law that makes you waive your rights to two other of the 10, 1/5 of the Bill of Rights? I tell you right now, if you apply for Obamacare, you have waived your Fourth Amendment right against unauthorized search and seizure without probable cause. You may not think so because they couch it in fancy legalese that you don't quite understand. But I can tell you this. The one phrase that you need to know about legalese is the way you define a word is not how they define a word. And I am going to tell you something right now. Your application through the Obamacare system is a waiver of your Fourth and your Fifth Amendment rights. Your Fourth Amendment right against unreasonable search and seizure without probable cause. In your person, in your papers, in your effects. And your Fifth Amendment right has been waived, in which you have a right not to be forced to give self-incriminating information. And I can assure you of this. The data that they are collecting during the application process itself from you, and then also from the gathering in of all of the other agencies that are part of the Obamacare Data Hub. And again, they are the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, Immigration to verify that you're a citizen, Social Security Administration to verify again that you're a citizen and that you hold a Social Security card, the IRS to verify what is your past income, what is your income now, who have you worked for in the past, are you getting insurance through your employer, or are you mandated to buy it independently because your employer doesn't offer it? See, all of these agencies are conspiring together to collect and gather and build a file on you so they can look through it and say, is this somebody that we, one, can prosecute or persecute? I mean, their argument is, well, we need this just to verify that you're entitled to a subsidy. Again, using the argument that you're so dependent on government that you can't wait to sign up and give away your rights as long as they give you free health care. Which is why they raised the poverty level to 155% of poverty level. How many more Americans does that gather in? Well, 50% who weren't in the poverty level before, huh? Oh, and by the way, they neglect to tell you that if you are qualified under that and that you are tossed onto the Medicaid rolls, what you don't know about Medicaid, because most people who aren't on it would never even realize that this is the case, is that at some point in time when you gain services and you're on Medicaid, if you have any assets at all, those assets can be liquidated to reimburse Medicaid for the money they spent on your behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case. I have given my closing argument. You've been listening to America's Voice Now. I hope, I pray that America will come to its senses immediately, if not sooner. We need a massive civil disobedience movement in this country, not just for Obamacare, but for everything. Stop buying, stop the commerce. 70% of our nation is built upon commerce. Starve the beast, end the treason. You can find us at americasvoicenow.org. Facebook.com/America's Voice Now. And on YouTube at YouTube.com/America's Voice Now. This video will be posted up on our website at americasvoicenow.org shortly. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.